Everybody, it is Wednesday, July the 8th, 2020. This is my second video for the day, and if you're new to my channel, my mission statement is very clear. First of all, my name is Daniel Lee. I live here in beautiful Juneau, Alaska, and my mission statement is very clear. I preach and teach the Hebrew Jewish roots of the Christian faith on my website, spiritandtorah.com. I exalt Yahshua, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. He is the only way, truth, and the life. I expose satanic pedophiles through investigative reporting on my YouTube channel. I've been doing this now for almost 2 years. I provide satanic ritual abuse survivors a platform to speak out on. I protect the innocent children by virtue of these other things, and I lead a nightly Zoom room prayer meeting. Every single night we pray for President Trump, this nation, other subscribers, each other, and we'll be happy to pray for you as well. All right, so I want to get to a couple stories that actually I've been sitting on for a while just because I've had so many other things to report, but I wanted to make sure I didn't forget. These both of these stories are from about a month ago, June 4th. The first one is alleged online child sex abuse network has been busted by federal police, 9 arrested and 14 children rescued. This is down in Australia. Australian federal police have arrested 9 men in relation to an alleged child abuse network that was filmed, photographed, and shared online. Releasing details of the investigation, it said operated across 3 states. The AFP said 40 charges had been laid. At least 14 children have been removed from harmful situations. The investigation began in February after a tip-off from U.S. authorities. 2 men aged in their 20s were arrested on Thursday at Kendall on the New South Wales mid-north coast and have each been charged with offenses relating to the harm and exploitation of children. The AFP will allege the pair were part of an online network that abused Australian children and recorded the crimes to share with others. Police said the arrests were linked to alleged criminal activity across New South Wales, Queensland, and Western Australia. Kendall's the same town where toddler William Tyrell disappeared in 2014. The 2 men lived there at the time, but there is no indication they are suspects in that case. So hallelujah that this child sex abuse network was busted up and that 14 children were rescued from this abuse. And again, they were tipped off by U.S. authorities. So I think we can thank Trump for this, even though this happened down in Australia. Also, this was an article from about a month ago as well, and this is Apostle of La Luz del Mundo, a Mexico-based church with U.S. branches, arrested in Los Angeles on child rape and other charges. The leader and self-proclaimed apostle of La Luz del Mundo, a Mexico-based church with branches in the U.S. that claims over 1 million followers, has been charged with human trafficking and child rape, California officials announced Tuesday. Joaquin Garcia and a follower of the church, 24-year-old Susana Medina Oaxaca, were arrested Monday after landing at Los Angeles International Airport, California Attorney General Xavier Becerra's office said. Around 1,000 worshipers gathered at the headquarters of La Luz del Mundo in Guadalajara, Jalisco, on Tuesday evening to pray for Garcia as he was held in Los Angeles on a $25 million bail. Garcia, 50, faces 26 counts of felony charges that range from human trafficking and production of child pornography to forcible rape of a minor. The charges detail a series of disturbing allegations involving 3 girls and 1 woman between 2015 and 2018 in Los Angeles County. The fundamentalist Christian church, whose name translates to the light of the world, was founded in 1926 by Garcia's grandfather. It has been the subject of child sex abuse allegations for years, but authorities in Mexico have never filed criminal charges. It has more than 15,000 churches in 58 countries, according to its website. The church's followers must adhere to strict moral code in exchange for the promise of eternal salvation. So this is very, very interesting. And again, this was published a month ago, but I wonder if the arrest of this self-proclaimed apostle of this vast church is the beginning of busting up a much larger child sex trafficking operation, because I mean, you see this church has, headquarters all over, or has branches all over the U.S. and all over the world, really. So we're seeing pastors as well that have been, and I've reported on pastors before that have been involved in child sex trafficking that have been arrested. and charged. We're seeing this happen more and more and more in this great awakening. Now, this story really makes my blood boil. This is a Georgia man was sentenced to 1,000 years in prison for child porn, and now he gets parole. The 70-year-old pervert was once referred to as probably the most prolific collector of child pornography in the entire world. A Georgia man who was sentenced to 1,000 years in prison for possessing child porn has been released on parole after only 7 years, meaning he will spend just 0.07% of his entire jail sentence behind bars. As reported by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Peter Mallory, 72, will get the chance to spend the remainder of his sentence on parole after being released by the State Board of Pardons and Paroles on May 27th, despite the objection of District Attorney Herb Cranford's office. Mallory, a former television station owner, was found guilty of 60 counts of exploitation of children, tampering with evidence, and 3 counts of invasion of privacy in December 2012, after investigators discovered 26,000 files containing child pornography. He was charged as a result of a LaGrange Police Department investigation initiated back in February of 2011. According to prosecutors, police were alerted to more than 600 suspected child porn files linked to a computer in LaGrange, which led them to the TV station run by this pedophile. So this guy getting released after only 7 years, I think proves my point that we ought not to be throwing these people in jail. The judicial system doesn't seem to know how to take care of these people. What we need to be doing is executing them. Public executions, preferably, to completely curb the practice of people who are going to be looking at child pornography and exploiting children. That's what Jesus said. He said, if you cause even my little ones to stumble, it's better for you to have a rock tied around your neck and for you to be cast into the sea. So, yeah, I think that just proves the point I've been making over and over on this channel. There's a video here that I want to post below this video for you guys to watch. It's about almost 40 minutes long, and it's called Exposing Child Abuse at an Outward Bound Camp in King's House School, Richmond, London. This is 2 people, Phoenix and Aria. Phoenix describes the ritual abuse he was subjected to at an Outward Bound camp. He was sent to the camp in the 1980s by King's House School in Richmond, London. The school also supplied children to London's elite. I've talked about the various satanic pedophile rings and trafficking that's gone on in London, in the UK. It's very pervasive there. And if you want kind of a really good primer as to some of the stuff that's been going on for decades, this is a really good video. It was just published a few months ago back in April, but I wanted to give you guys that as a resource. Now, Stroppy Me just published this a couple of days ago, and I wanted to highlight this for my viewer. I'm going to put a link to his video. It's a very short video. It's about 4 minutes, but it's called Audit Hollywood. And what he does is he goes to the 8chan board, and there is an Anon who claims to be a director in Hollywood, and he's put a very long thread about very interesting questions that he has that he wants people to start digging and posing. And I'm just going to read his first thread here. It says, none of you, and he's responding to the list, the Epstein list of all the pedophiles named in the Q post from a few days ago. He says, none of you have any idea how deep this goes. I will tell you something else. And Q team, if you are watching, you want to know how the left always has money at their disposal to do whatever? It's not just George Soros. There is a much bigger, less temperamental, more reliable source that doesn't insert himself in it each time. And what is that source? It comes to a large extent from inflated A-list actors and actresses' salaries on feature films here. I know, I'm a director. Start asking questions. Question A, what are typical star salaries for the actors on the list? Question B, why are their salaries so high, that high? Question C, why do they all share the same business managers? Question D, what does a business manager do? Where are the books? Question E, once the money is in the books, where does it go? What direction? Upwards? Question F, upwards to whom? Question G, how many hands are in this pot? And then here's the most interesting question. What would the DOJ, IRS do with this information? Possibly audit Hollywood, shut many big operations down? And then he says, Q, I'm sorry I doubted you, but you know who I am. I am the one who broke the list right here on the poll. Continue the work. So this is very, very, very interesting, and basically he's suggesting that all of these salaries of these big wig A-list actors and directors and whatnot, they're all their salaries are what's providing a huge resource for the cabal. It's not just George Soros. So it's a fascinating thing. I'm going to link again to Stroppy's video, and then he provides a bunch of links below his video that you can sort of explore and look at. Now there's a video here, it's called Inside the Wicked Saga of Jeffrey Epstein, the arrest of Ghislaine Maxwell. This is from 60 Minutes Australia. This was just published yesterday, and I want to put a link below the video so that you guys can look at this as well. It's about a half hour long. If you're not familiar with the whole Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, the whole saga, this is a really, really good primer for you to watch, because it'll give you a bunch of details and sort of get you up to speed on what's going on with that situation. Also, a couple of days ago, I talked about how the Canadians, how they took this letter to the American embassy in Ottawa, and they were wanting President Trump and the President of Mexico to investigate the corruption of Justin Trudeau and the Canadian government. And I was only able to provide screenshots on my Twitter feed. Well, I now have an actual link that from WordPress that actually has the entire letter. So if you guys want to read that, I'm going to provide that below this video as well. Now, this next article from WorldNet News Daily, this is called Why the Dems Have Pitted Blacks Against the Police. And I thought this was a very, very well-written article. I want to just read a portion of this here. It says, I have repeatedly argued that the reason the globalists played their Black Lives Matter riot and mayhem card on the day before the release of the fully exculpatory Michael Flynn transcript was to deflect attention, public attention, from Obamagate, which the Flynn transcript finally proved was conspiracy fact and not theory. That explains the timing of the start of the riots, but there's another more diabolical reason the Democrats are goading BLM specifically into burning down their own cities and augmenting the most peaceful black forces with highly trained and mostly white Antifa stormtroopers to ensure it happens. The white liberal elites who have owned all these cities since LBJ created the entitlement system and political machinery that made perpetual liberal control possible have finally run out of other people's money, and the gravy train is about to drive off the cliff, leaving them holding the bag. These grossly racist white liberal elites, and therefore setting up inner city blacks as the scapegoats for the collapse of the cities, while cynically creating a false narrative in which they themselves play heroes for supporting a long-awaited social accounting for systemic racism, which is all the more ironic since nearly all the racism being complained of as first-hand accounts by these inner city blacks must logically have occurred in the deepest of the deep blue cities where they live. Why have these white liberal elites run out of other people's money? Because the Trump tax reform of 2018 limited the deductibility of state and local taxes on federal tax returns. That literally killed the soak the rich component of the LBJ strategy by triggering an exodus of the rich and super rich from the Dems' ultra-high tax showpiece cities like Manhattan, Chicago, Atlanta, Seattle, San Francisco, Portland, Minneapolis, etc. Plus, the incredible Trump economy created by that tax reform dried up the white liberal elite's other primary income source, which is federal entitlement money, by liberating their main cash cows, inner city blacks, from government dependency. Every job in the miraculous post-tax reform explosion of black inner city employment, the highest in American history, represented another black family pulling out of the entitlement system, cutting off another spigot of revenue from the feds to state and city slush funds, which had always kept most of that money to fund their army of Democrat, loyalist, public employee union members, the secret to their perpetual control of the cities. So because Trump forced healthy anti-Marxist economic policies upon them, these white liberal elites are faced with impending political doom and their worst nightmare, public accountability, as the river of other people's money runs dry. With no conceivable solution to this crisis in their socialism-addled brains, images of guillotines began swimming in their soon-to-be detached heads. Who are these white liberal elites most afraid of? First and foremost, they fear the public employee unions, especially the police unions, whose political loyalty they have bought election after election since the 1960s, with the ever-dangling carrot of increasingly fatter but unfunded pensions. In the new normal, these pensions hold about as much value as the Confederate currency issued by an earlier generation of Democratic leaders. Why do they fear almost as much? Inner city blacks, whom they have kept politically enslaved by breaking up their families and addicting them to drip-by-drip government subsistence programs. It is these same white liberal elites who have intentionally fostered and nurtured racial and class resentment to ensure that all blame for the LBJ policies was placed at the feet of the rich as leverage to extort increasingly more money from the rich and the businesses that they own. Never forget that the poverty in the inner cities could have been eliminated generations ago by simply promoting and assisting entrepreneurialism in the black community. Now you know not only why the cities are burning, but why the two sides of the war for the cities are the police and the rioters, while the white liberal elites are pretending to be independent arbiters and referees high above the fray, when in fact they are the masterminds of the entire mess. They are implicitly and in some cases expressly encouraging blacks to dismantle the city infrastructures, pretending that is the reason for defunding the police, when the real reason is they just don't have the money and can't get any more unless they force the feds to bail them out. And even that would be a band-aid on a gushing artery. By perpetuating this cynical and racist scam, they could put all the blame on the blacks whom they secretly loathe. At the same time, these white liberal elites are using all their propaganda skills and machinery and are expertly leveraging the race-based rioting to smear the police forces as a single monolithic group, not individuals, as systemic, irredeemable racists to justify the elimination of their pensions. Mark my words, the as-yet unannounced plan is to rescind police pension fund obligations and divert the imaginary funds for the purpose of reparations for black slavery. As is always the case, the white liberal elites project their own evil motives upon the conservatives, but in this situation, they have outdone themselves by deliberately attempting to promote racist sentiments in the American public by portraying a tiny fraction of black thugs and looters as the spokesman for the entire black community, and setting them up to take the blame for the now inevitable collapse of the blue cities, while simultaneously throwing Blue Lives, one of their key municipal constituencies, under the bus because they are no longer useful to them. I urge every conservative and constitutionalist to raise awareness of this scam as an act against racism, and to help the black community and the police unions to recognize they are being pitted against each other purposely by the white liberal elites they once trusted. I just think this is an excellent analysis of what is happening in various blue cities with these riots and how it all fits together. So I will publish a link to this article right below the video as well. Finally, I got this meme from a subscriber and I wanted to share it with everybody. It's, I think it's just perfect. But it says, "The days are evil, dress appropriately." And it has the Ephesians 5:10 through 18. I think I'll use this as a thumbnail clip for my video here. Hallelujah. All right, if you like what I'm doing, if you appreciate what I'm doing, if you think I'm working hard and I deserve to be paid, this is my full-time career, which I love. I love doing what I do. So if you want to help me out, the easiest way to do so is through my PayPal. That is a link right below this video. That's the easiest way to send me a donation. I also have a Patreon. That's a link below the video as well. The way that works is you click on it, you can pledge any monthly amount you'd like, and then that amount is taken out of your bank account at the beginning of each month. If you're old school and you don't want to use the internet to send a donation, that's fine. I also have a P.O. box. It's also located below the video, and you can send me a donation through good old-fashioned snail mail. If you have a prayer request and you want our prayer team to pray for you, we will be happy to do so. Just make sure you email me. My email is also located in the description box below the video. You do have to unfold the description box and just scroll down through the links. You'll eventually find my email. Email me your prayer request. I will get it to our prayer team, and we will pray for you. All right, guys, thank you for all your prayers and all your support, and have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. Shalom, shalom.